Budgeting food expenses for the back-to-school season? Get more bang for your bite with Every Plate, America's best value meal kit. It's 25% less than grocery shopping. Get started for just $1.49 per meal with the code 49POA at everyplate.com/podcast. All right, welcome back, Airheads. Here we are. That's not good, is it? That's not. I could do better than that. I think. No, I don't know. I'm struggling. You do it, Joe.
Right
you do
here.
it. You
welcome
do it.
back, everyone, to an episode of Putting on Airs.
Put it on airs. Yeah.
It's where we take airs and we put them on.
Put them on. Right. We're doing this in honor of Michael Caine.
Michael Caine.
Who is not dead or anything.
No, not dead.
Anything like that. But he's stepped away from the altar, as it were.
But as I said, because I only ever see Michael Caine on the film or the telly, he may as well be dead to me. Which does not
but you could also, look at that as like, and for the exact same reason, he's going to live forever.
That's true. I mean? Oh no, he is going to live forever. He's one of those that's 100%, immortal. That's what true good artists, they become immortal. Like Prince is not dead, baby. He just ain't around here. You know what I'm saying?
How did somebody like just call him up and be like, "Hey, you gonna keep hitting?" And he was like, "No."
Or
like what? Like what?
I will keep.
Here's what I press release. Like what?
I assume that's what happened.
Yeah.
Because, but here's my reasoning on why. He's probably got a book about to come out. You know what I mean? And it's like, if you just don't act anymore, people will just be like, I haven't seen Michael Caine in a while. But if you do this, you get all this press. Like, obviously, it's a big deal, which is either going to help him sell a book that he's already written or give him more cachet when he goes into, HarperCollins and says, I would like to give you an exclusive on my story. The story of Michael Caine, so that's probably it.
Plus, he's 100 or whatever.
He's 90 years old, which is there's Mel Brooks not officially retired. But at 90, I do think Michael Caine has probably done everything he's wanted to do. He probably did it all by 70. But I am sad. I wish that I wish he had one more Christopher Nolan movie in him. Just one more. Just go out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Michael Caine's great. He's right in the spirit of this show, I feel like, because he's not.
We used to invite him on all the time.
That's right. But he's because he's not a fancy feller, right? He's like
he's
a Cockney street rat. He's like a definition of like a working class dude over there who rose to the heights of Hollywood stardom. Despite being all super Britishy and everything. I know super Britishy in like the trashy way. The hitting kind of hits for me. I'm saying like when a Hugh Grant Brit ascends,
you're like, well, this was your birthright.
Yeah, right, exactly. But for like a piece of Cockney fucking trash to ascend to that level is like more notable in a way that I personally enjoy more. Did you ever hear his quote about Jaws 4?
No. Was he in it?
I reckon. It's a pretty famous quote. Somebody was asking about making choices as an actor or whatever. And, you're in Jaws 4 or whatever. And he was like, I haven't seen Jaws 4. I understand it's not a very good film. I have, however, seen the house that it paid for. And it is fantastic.
I do remember that. I love when people have that attitude about acting so much. And by the way, before I expound on what I mean by that, I would like to say that Michael Caine is probably proof to, there's a lot of people hearing this right now going, Michael Caine was British trash. He's proof that we just assume that accent means there's no possible way that you could be that. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I love, and he's a great example of it. An actor who is like, I know that he took his job seriously and he was fucking really good at it. And I know that there were probably some things he turned down because he was like, is a bit too cheeky right now. But like just going, fucking, you know what, man? It's a job and I made a shit ton of money at it. So like, who gives a fuck what Rotten Tomatoes said?
For sure. Do you know Michael Caine was born Maurice Joseph Micklewhite?
It's a good change.
It's a good change.
Maurice Joseph Micklewhite.
Yeah. Micklewhite, dude. How fucking British is that?
Very British. And again, does not in any way sound poor, you know?
Right. He was, let's see here. He's the son of a cook and charwoman. Charwoman, just
what?
Is that like a cook who burns everything? That doesn't. No, it's weird. So it says his mom was a cook and charwoman, and char, that sounds like a cooking term to me, but it says charwoman's an old-fashioned occupational term referring to a paid part-time worker who comes into a house or other building to clean it for a few hours of a day or week, as opposed to a maid who normally lives in the domicile or whatever. It's like, shit, well, hell, my mother-in-law's a charwoman. I'm going to run that pipe.
They got to make it sound like it don't hit.
Yeah,
you
right.
know? She's a charwoman.
Yeah, I don't get the cha part at all. But anyway, and his dad, also called Maurice Joseph Micklewhite, was a fish market porter. So
fishmonger.
Fish man. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fish market porter makes it sound like he just carried fish between different fishmongers.
His bona fides for having grown up working class are so great. I mean, your mom's a charwoman and your dad's a fish man. Nobody's questioning that shit.
And not only that, his father was of part Romani descent.
Ooh.
The gypsies or whatever.
That's not me saying ooh. That's me saying to them ooh would be.
Right. Yeah. So he was part gypsy, and yeah, mama was a washerwoman, and his daddy fucked with fish. Let's see here.
Now, guess what? He was born in 1938.
1933.
Yeah. It's not 2028. I'm an idiot.
And yeah. So during the Second World War, he was like, a kid, and he got evacuated and whatnot. Let's see here. They grew up, they were rehoused in some council estates. You know what council estates are?
Council estates?
Yeah.
Okay, he was raised in council estates.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say this is a place that's not like foster children because the parents are still there, but it's like maybe some sort of like commune situation for people that don't hit to gather their resources and maybe live a little bit better.
Okay, well, first of all, I mean, sort of council estate over there, I believe, is just basically like the projects, right? Pretty much in America.
Okay.
But actually, I should reread this. It says he was his family was rehoused by the council into a prefabricated house. I don't know if that's technically a council estate or not, but it was like supposed to be temporary living for people that were relocated because of
the
London
bombs.
Getting bombed, all the shit. Yeah.
Yeah,
and then he said they ended up living there for 18 years. It was supposed to be temporary, but he pretty much spent his whole life there as a kid.
Ain't that the way it goes? A prefab house during the war. Have we ever talked on this show about how much more it hit to be in America during the world wars than anywhere else? Like we really got. I mean, it sucked that our people had to go to war, but like growing up, I never thought about it much of like, it was like, oh yeah, World War, we went over there and like things didn't hit, but like England, which is just as much of a first world country as us, was just getting their shit fucked on the reg, dude. Yeah. It's crazy.
Eddie Izzard had a bit about that, and I'm not gonna do it justice at all, but he kind of had a bit about that. We're talking about World War II and how fucked England was, like, by a few years into it, he's like, they're sitting there, it's like, send the tanks at them. It's like, we're out of tanks, sir. Send the whatever. And then it progresses. So he's like, throw pots and pans at it, whatever. He's like, and then after 4 years, the Americans show up, standing like this, like, Jesus Christ, where have you been? Having breakfast. What's going on? Start, kicking everybody's ass and whatnot. But anyway. Yeah, we definitely. I mean, I feel like we handled that pretty well as far as that goes. Just
I mean,
let everybody else just sort of wreck each other's shit for a while, and we just swoop in and turn the tide.
And I don't hear him talking about it that much. We had one 9/11, and we won't shut the fuck up about it. But like they had a whole bunch of 9/11s right there in a row.
Well, that was their whole thing with that. The stiff upper lip thing that Britain has, and like the keep calm and carry on.
Right.
That's from. All that comes from, or at least the keep calm and carry on thing, like it literally originates with the bombings in World War II and whatnot. And it was just people being like, you know, don't let it be a bother. You know,
right.
Life must go on, and fucking everything's exploding all around them and whatnot. And
they've got
they're wild people.
They've got keep calm and carry on. And I feel like we have get fucking pissed and stay put. You know, it's like the opposite. Stand there and be mad. God damn it.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, we do wish Michael Caine all the luck in his remaining years, the golden years of his career.
Yes, absolutely.
For the record, he now has time to come on. Well, yeah, just the rest of his life. I mean, I do believe he'll write or something like that. Who knows? But Michael Caine, if you're listening, you now have more time than ever to be a guest on Puttin on Airs. We said we wanted him to be the first guest, but we've already screwed that, so he can be the second.
So he has already. I'm not saying he won't write something else, but he already has already written an autobiography in 2010. 2010.
Plenty's happened to him.
Called The Elephant to Hollywood, because I didn't mention earlier that those temporary housing they were re-put into, that was part of the Elephant and Castle neighborhood, because of course there's an Elephant and Castle neighborhood over there in England. But yeah, so that's why it's called The Elephant to Hollywood. But yeah, it came out in 2010. I guess he got called up into the army, but this is way after World War II. This is in like the early 50s. He was in the army in the early 50s, and then he went to the Korean War, because
I was about to say, which one did they have?
Well, yeah, because they have whatever we have.
Exactly.
Yeah,
they're in Korea. All right.
Yeah, I guess we'll go to Korea. Yeah, right. So, well, apparently he went over there, and we were fighting commies over there in Korea. I don't even know how many Americans know. I mean, you really know what Korea was all about? Because, I mean,
no, my papa was there, but I have no idea. This is the funny little anecdote, but I was just recently listening to the Howard Stern show in my car. And you remember Sal from the Howard Stern show?
Yeah.
He thought that they were trying to get him to list all the wars in the order in which they happened. And he was like, well, World War II, that's clearly the first one. And then he was like, Civil War had to be after that. He thought that the Korean War and the Vietnamese War were the same war. He's like, well, some people just call them that.
Yeah.
That really cracked me up. No, I have no idea. Yeah, I have no idea what the Korean War was about. I mean, because it was against all of Korea, not just North and South.
No. I think it actually, it's weird, because I'm about to, this is all coming straight from my ass, and it's like, that is the forgotten war in this country for sure.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, they're like, that one didn't hit for anybody. Fucking, it didn't. Not many documentaries. It's like it's nearly forgotten about. But so, having said all that, I think old boy on Howard Stern was like closer than he knew he was, because I think it was actually a pretty similar situation to Vietnam, where it was like, in Vietnam there was the Viet Cong, the North Vietnamese, and they were commies, right? And the South Vietnamese were like, we don't want to be commies, and so America was fighting with the South Vietnamese to defeat the commies in the North.
Sure, right? I knew that,
and we failed.
Yep,
miserably. Well, Korea, I think it was a similar thing. Korea used to be just Korea, right? And then the North part, Kim Jong-il's papaw,
the least hitting part,
right, was like, we go on be commies or whatever. And the South part was like, that don't hit for us. We don't want to do that. And so they had a civil war, North and South, and we were on the side of the South, I think. And then, they're separated to this day. I think actually it's funny, because that's the most forgotten war in this country. But I think I've read before that that war is still technically ongoing to this day between North and South Korea, because they've got the DMZ, the demilitarized zone, and all that stuff. But I think they're technically speaking, they're still actively engaged in that conflict. So we just
left.
I guess at some point. I mean, obviously, yeah. Well, so we left, but also we didn't, because I know we still have military presence in South Korea too, for sure.
So they got oil, I guess, a lot of it too.
Man, I don't know. With that, we just had a bloodlust for in the 2000s.
World War II really got our dick hard.
Yeah, right, exactly. Well, especially we're commies, we're concerned, because there was, that was all during both of those conflicts was when we was really starting to not hit for Russia and vice versa.
The Red
and
Scare.
the Soviet Union and the Cold War, and like they were commies, right? So it was like also some kind of sort of proxy war type shit with a lot of those conflicts where it's like the commies were on one side and at the top of the commie food chain was Russia. And then, you know, we're on the side of freedom, of course. And we're, you know what I mean? And so like, it was a lot of that type of shit, more so than like oil, I think. But yeah.
I just always assumed
we all know Vietnam did not hit.
No,
I'm not sure how much the Korean War did or did not hit for Americans of the day. I don't know.
I don't think, you know, at least you still hear the stories of like obviously Hanoi Jane and the people spitting on the soldiers and stuff like that. But like, I've never heard that as it pertains to the Korean War. Now, granted, you know, like those people are older and like long deader, you know, than the Vietnam folks. But my papaw, from my understanding, was, you know, a Navy shipman in the Korean War. And I don't believe he got spat upon. I don't know, but it seems like me and you need to learn a little bit more about the goddamn Korean War.
Well, I just Googled it, and it says, it says the Korean War was a proxy war for the Cold War. The West, the United Kingdom and the U.S., supported by the United Nations, supported South Korea, while Communist China and the Soviet Union supported North Korea. So, I mean, you know, I pretty much nailed it, I think.
Yeah, I think you did. And so, like, because of that war, there is a North and South Korea.
Yeah. Still to this
day. So we did that.
Because North Korea's position is that the South is an open rebellion against them and that they are the one true Korea and all that, you know, like, and so they still won't, they're not like just peacefully coexisting. I mean, I guess they're somewhat peacefully coexisting, but like, you know, the North's whole thing is like, no, y'all should be us. And, you know, yeah. And the South's like, ain't no way we're going to be. But then, you know, also the North, mostly because all that commie despotism shit, they all this big and half starved and ain't got fingers and shit.
Yeah, it don't hit
because North Korea don't hit, and you know, so I don't know.
They did a wrestling show in North Korea one time called
what?
Like
a pro wrestling show.
WW fucking or no, was it WCW? I think it was WCW because Eric Bischoff is the one that went over there. Him and Antonio Inoki, who was the head of New Japan Pro Wrestling or whatever. I might be getting some of that part wrong, but I don't think I am. They had this thing called the Collision in Korea, where they were going to go over there and they were going to put on a wrestling show for the people of North Korea. And so all these wrestlers are just like, yeah, fuck it, man. It's a payday. Of course, there were some of them that were like absolutely terrified because they'd been sort of clued in on what was going there. And they get there and like, yeah, like I think Eric Bischoff, who was running WCW at the time, he like walked out of his hotel one night and just was going to go jog through the streets. And he did, and said that like everyone that he ran into, like all these Koreans were just like terrified of him because like you're not allowed to just run through the streets and whatnot. And also like the cops ended up bringing him back to the hotel and you got it. So yeah, WCW and New Japan Pro Wrestling, I believe it was, which was ran by Antonio Inoki. They were going to do this thing. They ended up, and they did this thing called Collision in Korea, where they're like Antonio Inoki, who ran New Japan Pro Wrestling. Apparently, his like grandmother was Korean, and it was like very important to him to like try to help broker peace in the region with the power of wrestling, right? So sure. WCW gets involved in this, and like some of the wrestlers were just like, cool, whatever, it's a gig, let's do it. Some of them were like, I don't know if y'all have heard about what it is over there, but like I don't want to go to no goddamn commie fucking country.
When was this? Like what year was this?
I want to 96, 97.
I mean, I don't think it matters that much because I think they've basically been what they've been for like, I don't know, 30 or 40 years.
Kim Jong-il was the leader.
Okay.
It had to be within 96 to 98 because that's when Eric Bischoff was running the joint, right? And so they get over there, and you know, I've seen a documentary where all these wrestlers are like, buddy, he's like, you only think you appreciate freedom until you've actually seen what the fuck this is. Because like apparently Bischoff, like the first night they're there, they had like armed guards and stuff outside of their hotel rooms, but he leaves his hotel room when they're on like a break or something, and he's just going to go out jogging or whatever. And he does, and he says while he's running through the streets, there's all these North Koreans who are like literally running away from him, petrified, screaming, just because there's a white man running through the streets and they'd never seen this shit before. And also you weren't allowed to just do that shit. You know what I mean?
That he just like kept going. I feel like if I went out on like a jog in a strange place and every one of the locals like turned and ran from me screaming,
I'd go back home.
I'd stop and be like, no, wait, it's fine. Please. What happened? And I wouldn't just effectively chase them by continuing down the street.
Not Bischoff.
But yeah, no, I know that you're not. Yeah, you can, I think any American, can take like a trip over there for like tourism reasons or whatever, but it's like highly, highly structured and regimented. Like they won't let you got like a North Korean guard with you all the time.
At all times. And you can't talk to somebody on the phone unless they're on the other line. Right. You can't do, and like the wrestlers were like, they were hanging out trying to like play pool and be buddies, and like they were getting loud, and like the guards would come in and be like, yo, you got to calm down. They were like, yeah, fuck you or whatever. And they were like, no, you don't understand. We'll shoot you. And they were like, oh, okay. What the fuck ever. Anyways, I said all that to say this. It is technically the most attended wrestling event in the history of man, but that's because they forced every Korean to go. So like, there's like a fucking 500,000 people there of these wrestlers. Yeah, the Collision in Korea. And the ultimate takeaway from all the WCW people was, you'll never believe this, North Korea don't hit. Yeah, don't hit. So,
yeah, it's where they have like, there's all these things about how they have like, so if tourists go over there, they take them on like structured places around the city. They only see what they want them to see, right? And so they have all this like fake shit set up, like fake grocery stores and things of that nature, where it's like it makes it look like things hit, but really things don't hit, and those things are only there just for show, just for people to see and be like be like, oh, this place it seems all right, but it actually don't hit. And if you try to leave there on account of how much it don't hit, they'll kill you and your whole entire family and enslave what's left of your family for multiple generations on concentration camps and stuff. So that don't hit either.
Can I just say this? The Dennis Rodman thing was maybe a little different because he was a guest of Kim Jong-un, so maybe he would be treated better than anyone ever going over there. But like you hear stories every now and then of like an American tourist going there and then doing some dumb shit and staying, and like, they keep them and they're like going to put them in jail. And like maybe the first time I heard it, I was like, oh no, this is terrible. But now I'm just like, bruh, listen, I understand wanting to broaden your goddamn horizons. If you willingly go to North Korea, you are a dumb fucking piece of shit and you deserve whatever is coming your way. Not saying it's right. I'm just saying we don't need to be using any of our foreign policy points to get your dumb ass out of North Korea because you went over there and spray painted some shit, Yeah,
no, I ain't going to North Korea.
Who would want to?
No, right. Yeah, I don't understand.
Dude, I'm telling you.
South Korea seems cool,
South Korea seems real cool. Like, it's like a huge, stark difference. Like, they're like apparently like a tech utopia or some shit. Right. And then just right to the north, it's like.
See, and that's why, like, dude, like.
Freedom hits.
Right. It's like, yes, pretty much. I'm saying, like. I think there's a healthy middle ground somewhere. Like we could have fucking social safety nets and take care of poor people and all that. And we should, right? If you're a successful country, you should do that stuff. But like, full blown socialism. And there's a difference between socialism and communism. And I'm too dumb to get into it without
unbridled
reading about
government
it first.
Authoritarianism. Don't hit.
But like most of them commie countries, didn't or don't hit, right? And then like the ones
it's like scoreboard.
And exactly. And then like South Korea is like, well, we don't want to be communists, we want to be capitalists. It's like you said, and they fucking smash now.
Yeah.
And it's like, I mean, yeah, scoreboard is kind of hard to argue with, except, China is, but they're like a hybrid. They're like,
they are.
Like, China's like ran by like commie China. It's like communist China, but like the party is communist, but they've got like hyper capitalism over there at the same time too. And it's all just like, I don't know, determined by the government somehow who's allowed to hit it with making money and whatnot. But like, yeah, they've done pretty well for themselves, but they're like the only commie country that I'm aware of.
And
all the rest of them have failed miserably.
So bad, dude.
So bad.
And like, there is a healthy middle ground, and I would say that's probably like your Switzerland's, your fucking, the Nordic countries
Sweden,
or whatever,
the Scandinavian countries, right? Yeah, they're like democratic, socialisty places, which is not the same as communism.
Yeah, but if you ever try to I don't see how you could ever try to argue for straight up communism when if you just bro. Let's look at it.
Yeah, right. It don't seem to hit. Right.
It don't seem to hit even a little bit. And they do all that. They got, you were talking about the fake grocery stores and shit, but they got their state TV set up like that too, where piped into all the homes is just talking about how great it is and stuff. And I'm like, who are they fooling? Those people then live there. How do they think?
I think they actually do fool a lot of them. That's what a lot of people are. That propaganda shit works. I mean, think about it. You don't ever have any exposure to any other kind of narrative ever, right? You know what I mean? So
never have.
They just buy it. Obviously, and a lot of them don't, but a whole lot of them for sure do. You know what I mean?
And it don't matter if you buy it or not.
Like a whole bunch of Russians, right now are fully 100% convinced that they're doing the right thing and trying to save the country of Ukraine from its Nazi overlords or whatever their story is. You know what I mean?
Right.
They believe that shit because that's all they've been told. And it's and in China too, when sometimes people in this country will get on to a China person for a Chinese
for being
person.
China.
No, I mean, kind of, yes.
Yeah.
When they're in a Hollywood movie or something, and they're somehow prominent, and people in this country expect them to denounce China, and then they don't.
Right.
And people get mad at them. They're boycott this movie because they support what the Chinese government is doing over there and whatever else. And I'm like, because the star of this movie wouldn't denounce China. And I'm like, well, China might throw them out a goddamn window or something if they fuck it, or at the very least, make their career disappear forever. It's easy for people to sit in this country and be like, you should speak up against that. And it's you ain't in no danger of getting defenestrated or run over by a tank in the park or none of that shit. So I think you need to lay off of these people a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're the ones actually living with the threat of something happening. I guarantee you most of them Americans saying that if they were in China and the Chinese government stepped to them, they'd be like, just bow down immediately. Please, God, let me, leave with my life. You ain't going to stand up to the Chinese government.
Dude, hell no. I mean, people around here, and we're some of them sometimes, I'm sure, we get real cocky with our freedom. That's what I meant with those wrestlers. You don't have any context for what freedom is until you see where it ain't, and we have just grown up our whole lives our country was founded on looking at the government and going, you don't hit. But if you're in China, I'm not mad at that dude for being I don't listen. They have organized samurais and they will kill my whole family. I'm sure that's not how it works, but
no, that's Japan. But
Japan, whatever.
Japan don't have samurais anymore. But side note, you know anything about samurais and or just Japan in general?
Not as much as I would like.
They wild, bro.
Please,
we should talk about them on this show in the future, actually, because samurais were an aristocratic.
Yeah, right. They were a noble class. I did know that.
Yeah, and bro, dog, they was wild.
Okay. Let's put a bookmark in that.
Yeah. So anyway,
we were just talking. Go ahead.
Well, I had a thing I wanted to talk to you about. You also wanted to do some hot goss, right? So
yeah.
Well,
speaking of, you were talking about Hollywood and not denouncing China or whatever. What's the big deal in Hollywood right now? And this is honestly going to be the last time that I talk about it, but I do want to talk about it, if only to get in the algorithm somehow, because everybody is fucking talking about it. It is what seems to be never-ending bitchinizing or pussification of Will Smith. What they are doing to this man, what Jada Pinkett Smith is doing to this man, is unlike anything I've ever seen before in my life. And I can't wrap my head around why people give a fuck what Jada Pinkett Smith be saying. Like, Will Smith is the goddamn star here. You know what I mean?
Right. Like, yeah, people are huge fans of fucking Dead Presidents or Girls Trip or something. I think those are two. I mean, she may not even been in that first, but Dead
Nutty
Presidents kind of hit. Yeah, Nutty Professor. There you go. Right. Yeah. I mean, she don't hit.
No, she don't hit. But like, she's like
what's the most recent thing that she's done? Because I'm not sure that I know about it. The most recent thing she's
done is she just came out of nowhere and said that they have actually been separated for 7 years. So that when Will slapped Chris Rock, she even said something to the effect of like, I don't even know why he did that. We don't even like each other. You know what I mean? And just made it. So like, he already makes this huge mistake, the slap heard around the world. And then she has to then come out and say, yeah, and it didn't even hit for me. Cause like, we don't even live together. Well, they do. Like somebody said, oh my God, Will Smith slapped Chris Rock over his roommate. Because apparently that's what it is. They've been living completely separate lives for 7 goddamn years.
I just don't understand why Will be fucking with her at all at this point. It's like, you're Will Smith, dude. Like, I know it's like she's like also a celebrity, but like, because who's the hottest, most famous, hittingest female celebrity right now who is single? Because you probably would have a shot with her. You could at least get a date with her. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Like, you exist at the, I mean, well, I don't know anymore. He's done so much damage to his image and everything. And it's a real bummer. Because I mean, Will Smith was like, I mean, a pretty huge staple of my childhood. He was the only wholesome part of my childhood, I suppose. You know what I mean? Like, it was like Will Smith, Eminem, and DMX, right? Yeah. Fucking then Limp Bizkit and Kid Rock. You know what I mean? Just all fucking violent trash. But also, I loved Will Smith. You know what I mean? So I've always been a huge fan. But his movies largely stopped hitting years ago, dude. Years and years ago, they stopped hitting. So he was already on a downward trend in that regard. And then all this shit with Jada and the slap and all, it's just like, I mean, it's fucking brutal. And I feel like the only way for him to come back from it, to me, is he need to get the fuck away from her ass. Their 100%. Kids are like fully grown at this point, right?
Yeah,
they're adults, right, dude?
Yes.
Fuck off from her forever. Get a goddamn restraining order against her, or what, if you have to.
A gag order, too. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, fucking dude. Putting a gag order on her is about like that judge gag ordering Trump. You know what I mean? Like, I'm very skeptical that that's two people who cannot shut the fuck up. But anyway, get the fuck away from her. Maybe also fire your agent, get a new one. Read a bunch of scripts.
Yep.
Get somebody with you.
Get
somebody with you. Right. Get somebody with you that like whose taste and opinion you trust and who isn't a sycophant or a yes man to go through these projects. Pick one that actually hits, right? That actually hits. Crush that fucking thing and then go on from there. And like, it is salvageable, I think. But if he gonna keep fucking around with her and making these mid-ass movies, then, you know, I don't have much hope for him in the future, frankly. Because I've on the movie front, I've always heard what happened with him is he's one of them. It's like, because he's such a huge star, he exerts a huge amount of control over the project, and he oftentimes kind of fucks them up, right? You know who else they say does that is The Rock, who I like The Rock a lot, but they say The Rock comes in, he's got all these stipulations. I can't take more than 3 punches in any given fight scene. I can never be all this type of shit. And it's just like, it's just unnecessary, and it just gets in the way of like good storytelling or whatever. Whereas I'm sorry, on the other end of the spectrum, you got a man like Tom Cruise who is the exact same way, but he knows what hits, right? Like,
yes. He's like, I'll do it to service the story.
He also exerts a huge amount of control over his projects, but he has good taste and understands what hits cinematically. So he makes his movies better. But these other huge stars that all they care about is how they come across or whatever, they fuck movies up. Or if they don't make them like bad, they make them not as good as they could be. If Will Smith, maybe he'll get down to a point where he no longer has that kind of influence over a project anymore, but he still can get a good project.
He has to be there now.
Maybe he can make like a comeback at some point. It would hit for me because, again, I always loved the guy. But
me too. And I genuinely think, like, if this Jada shit had never happened and we're only talking he's put out stinker after stinker, I think that's an easy minefield to avoid. It's like you said, fire your agent. This would be a perfect, like, he's the type of person that Quentin Tarantino could save. Now, granted, Tarantino's only got one movie per him left to make, and I'm certain that he's like, I'm not wasting that on this bullshit right now because of the Jada Pinkett Smith shit. But what's
everybody already knows, like, Will Smith, he turned down Tarantino.
Yes, right? He was going to be Django.
He was supposed to be Django. Tarantino wrote Django for him, and he turned it down because he didn't get it or whatever. Or I think
he wanted to make The Pursuit of Happiness.
He wanted to I heard he came in and talked to Tarantino, and he had all these changes he wanted to make. Right. That's what he does, but Tarantino don't play that. So he was he immediately was just like, nah, we good. Thanks, though. Right. And that was the end of it. But it's like, he ought not done that. He should have just showed up and listened and trusted this man's vision, which was already well established by that point.
Right.
And, it could be all.
It's not like you're talking to Reservoir Dogs Tarantino. You're talking to Tarantino that's already here. Like, we're excited about the movie.
Like, he's coming off of Inglourious Bastards, dog.
Like arguably his greatest work.
Right. He's like in his prime. Like, he's peaking.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
And I'm not saying that Will Smith should just be grateful that Tarantino would want him to do something, but kind of I am, a little bit. Like, hey, all you got to do is show up. But my thing was like, even if it was just the stinker movie after stinker movie, it's like, okay, one can turn that around. But now, with all this Jada shit going on, if you're a director out there, you're like, oh my God, I don't want any of this bullshit.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, because I promise you that there's some people that even if the movie looked like they would hit for them, they're just like, I'm just so tired of this Will Smith shit, or I can never look at him the same anymore. And I'm getting there, and it sucks because I really like Will Smith. But my point is, and the thing that's infuriating me is that, Will, remember who the fuck you are. You are Will goddamn Smith. The only reason that anyone is listening to what this lady is saying, this lady is the only reason that they even know who she is to say this shit is because she's married to your way hitting harder ass.
Yeah.
This is bullshit. Like, how is she doing this? Like, how many fucking times does she need to say, by the way, I used to be in love with Tupac, and then just like walk out of the room with Will just sitting there fucking crying? Like, it's a goddamn travesty to take down this one.
There's that too, right?
You didn't know about that?
No, I did. Yeah, she said before that Tupac was like her actual soulmate, and she was meant to be with Tupac and all this shit, and Tupac should have been her kid's dad, and all this wild ass stuff to say about a dead ex-boyfriend in front of your, and like, husband or anybody when you're married.
It seems like she has no problem saying anything. So I have to assume that Will's never been abusive to her. Otherwise she would say it. Right. So like, she's
I thought you meant otherwise she might've shut the fuck up by now. I thought that's what you were saying.
No, but scoreboard again, but like, he just sitting there not doing nothing wrong. I saw The Onion put out something that was like, Jada Pinkett Smith admits to fucking Tupac's ghost or something like that. And it's like, just, she really has, she keeps saying like, we're separated, but we still respect each other. And I'm like, how can you say that when you're literally doing the most disrespectful shit I've ever seen? Like, I've never seen a woman who is still married to a man dehumanize him so much and now as a society, we shouldn't look at Will Smith as a bitch, but I'm sorry, she's making him a bitch.
Uh-huh. Yeah. I know, and it don't hit, and it's like, you hear they've been separated this whole time, and you're just like, well, then why? Yeah, right.
Dude,
I just like, does she have some kind of like dirt
golden
on
pussy?
Him or something?
Oh,
or it's like, or
honestly, probably.
Yeah, because
I can't believe she ain't said it.
Right. Well, maybe that's, I don't know. It is weird. The whole thing is weird for sure. But also, you're like, why? The only reason anybody gives a fuck about her is because, you know, she's with you or whatever. But like, I don't know. I don't have a good sense of like, has she since developed her own little like cult of personality, like sort of like Gwyneth did,
kind
or
of.
no? Because I know she's got her red table talks and stuff. Who, you know, you walked away from.
Yes.
Did we talk about that on here? Was that
I
on
don't
here?
know if we did or not, but yes, Jada, as people reached out to me wanting me to come on the show like 2 or 3 years ago. And then I was like, oh, cool. They're like, you have a unique point of view. We would love to show that to our audience. And I was like, oh, great. And then I had the production meeting and they were like, so do you have any family members that you disagree with wholeheartedly? And I was like, plenty of them. They're like, we need to get them on the show so that you can, and they didn't say argue and shit on each other, but like, that's exactly what they meant. And I was like, no, that would be very embarrassing for me and my family. And they're like, but it will be good, you know? And I was just like, I would, how about just me? And they were like, nope, that don't hit. And I was like, okay, bye. So yes, I guess I do have a little bias against Jada Pinkett Smith, but I feel like she don't hit. But yes, that red table talk, she's sort of getting into that Gwyneth Paltrow-y world of like a
lifestyle guru person. Yeah, right.
Yes, where it's like, when's the last time you fucking made a movie though? You know?
That makes me want to do, say something else about her, because I want to see if I can find.
Well, she don't hit. She's destroyed the career of a once great man who was, I mean, a stallion in the field, like a pillar of Hollywood, reduced to absolute ashes because this woman has some unfinished business with a dead motherfucker who they still ain't solved his goddamn murder, which apparently, by the way, that's back in the news. I don't know if the two things are like conflated, that like all of a sudden they're like, we think we know who killed Tupac. And then Jada's like, by the way, we never had sex, but he wrote me poetry. And I almost named my third son after him.
He wrote us all poetry.
That's right.
That's what he did. It would be funny if she meant like when she said that, she's talking about keep your head up or something.
Right.
You know what I mean? He's like, he wrote that for me. Like she truly believes that.
It's all poetry, you bitch.
He did.
So, that's what he did.
So I was trying to find. When I told you to keep going, because I googled like most ridiculous Jada Pinkett Smith quotes, because I figured there'd be some good ones. But it's like all that's coming up is like people who have compiled her quotes like unironically. You know what I mean? Like people that are like, "Yo, these quotes hit for me." So we'd have to really like comb through them to get to the like. But this
not
is the
with
type
her
of shit.
comb.
This type of shit she says sometimes. She says, I learned that surrounding myself with people who are able to help me is like being surrounded by tangible godliness. So
okay, the first part was good, and then the second part really sucked.
Love and honesty are the things that make a good wife and mother. That's a hell of a thing for her ass to say to anybody.
I think she's got the honest part, but it's like, hey, sometimes you need to like not lie, but just shut the fuck up. Y'all remember all those life insurance ads on the radio when you were a kid? You might not, but I certainly do, because I remember being like, what's insurance? That was stuff that, it was for my parents to care about. I just kind of turned my ears off. Well, guess what? Now you/me, we is the parent, and it's time to get life insurance to help protect your family. Fabric by Gerber Life makes it quick and easy to get a high-quality policy so that your family is covered if the unexpected happens. Trey, tell them about our friends over at Fabric Gerber Life, baby.
Fabric was designed by parents for parents to help you get a high-quality, surprisingly affordable term life insurance policy in less than 10 minutes. Fabric has flexible policies that fit your family and your budget with quality policies like $1 million in coverage. For less than $1 a day, you can get your personalized quote in just minutes and then apply when it's convenient for you. It's all online and to your schedule. You could go from start to covered in less than 10 minutes with no health exam required. You're not sure if life insurance is right for you? We'll take Fabric's quick 60-second quiz to find out. There's no risk in applying. They have a 30-day money-back guarantee. You can cancel at any time. Fabric has partnered with Gerber Life, trusted by millions of families like yours for over 50 years. And with over 1,700 five-star reviews, they're rated as excellent on Trustpilot. And Fabric has more than just life insurance. Their easy digital platform also lets you create wills, access college saving funds, and manage your family's finances right from your phone, so your family is prepared for anything. So join the thousands of parents who trust Fabric to protect their family. Apply today in just minutes at meetfabric.com/POA. That's MEET fabric.com/POA. Meetfabric.com/POA. Policies issued by Western Southern Life Assurance Company, not available in certain states. Prices subject to underwriting and health questions. So the thing I wanted to talk to you about, I came across a little fact. I was going to say factoid, but did you know factoid? You know what factoid means?
It means something that's a tiny fact.
That's what. Yeah, I think most people use factoid like it's like fun fact or something like that. But a factoid, the actual definition of factoid is something that's presented as fact but is not actually true.
Oh, wow. Well, that's what we do on this show. Yes, everything we've ever said is a factoid.
Nothing but factoids on this show. But this is not a factoid. This is an actual, I believe, a fun fact. So I don't know how fun it is. So we talk about old-timey stuff a lot on here. A staple of old-timiness that hasn't come up that I'm aware of on the show before is the executioner, the headsman.
Yes, the dude that wore the cloak and he would take it off right at the end before he beheaded you. Yeah. Also looks like the Grim Reaper a bit.
Yes. What do you? What's your perception of the medieval executioner? What's your assumption for how, who that dude was? Well, what that was like being that guy, or any of that.
I would say that it was back then as a goddamn full-time job, because they stayed lopping people's heads off. If I had to guess, it's really weird because part of me wants to say like, oh, this was a noble position. But then the other part of me wants to go, no, they had somebody who was, this is his sentence. Like he now has to be the executioner because he was a lowly man, piece of shit. And so instead of executing him, we'll make him execute all the other people because people in town are going to fucking hate this guy. Like if you're the executioner, people are like, dude, people like if you're an IRS or surveyor or something, people look at you a certain way. If you're the goddamn executioner and you walk into a bar, nobody's going to want to sit with you. Nobody's going to want to claim to be your family. So that was some sort of a punishment on its own, like sort of like being sent to the wall to serve the black,
It's very astute of you to say that. You really talked yourself all the way through that in a successful fashion because I honestly, we've joked a lot about how like back then public executions were like fucking Sunday night on HBO.
The circus.
Yeah. Like must see TV in the 90s. Yeah. Like just the hittingest thing going. Right? Yeah, like fucking get the whole family together, go down there and hurl tomatoes at the pheasant thief before they hang him or whatever. Right? Like that was the height of entertainment in the medieval era.
It hit for them so hard.
So because of that, in my head, I always kind of figured that the executioner was like the Undertaker or something, like the wrestler. I mean, the Undertaker, like not the position, the Undertaker, like a scary, creepy, intimidating guy or whatever, but like also like kind of like a celebrity. Yeah, right. Like he comes out and holds the axe up and everybody cheers and all this shit. And he like walks around the different sides of the stage and fucking pumps them up and stuff, you know. That's sort of what I thought, but turns out it wasn't nearly that insane. And you are much more correct because yes, they were pariahs universally, pretty much. They did not hit for people. They were shunned by the societies they lived in. But it was kind of a complicated thing because it like you said, it's like I'm sure they stayed busy. It was an important position back then on account of how it was always somebody needed killing, right? And you know, so you need the killing man around. So like the various lords and nobles and stuff in these regions that were in charge of like meting out justice and whatnot, they, you know, you needed a hit and executioner, and you didn't want to always just be going through executioners. So like they were paid well. They were actually paid like pretty damn well, and were like, you know, but I was going to say treated what they couldn't. They were shunned by society while also being like,
but they were protected,
compensated, and yeah, right, and in turn for it. But they were part of the. They were part of like the undesirables, the like dishonorable trades back then. Like we were just talking about that, weren't we? Didn't you say like, you're like, we're talking about how actors were that? And
they were all whores. Like they
actors,
just all fell under whores.
There's some other weird ones like leather tanners was gross for some reason. Yeah, don't know why.
Wait, a leather tanner, just the person who made a purse out of a cow's ass?
I don't know why, but yeah, that was dishonorable.
What? Dude, the past sucked.
The rat man, that one I get, you know.
Well, hold on. What would the rat man do?
Well, he
get rid of the rats.
Like the pest control guy, but for rats, because they was eat up with rats back then. So you called a rat man.
Yeah,
and
I get how
back then he just comes in with like a cudgel and just starts swinging it at rats and all the fucking coin. Like he wasn't spraying or setting traps or nothing. This big fucking buck-toothed peasant walks in with a hammer and just starts tearing your shit
Where
up.
they at? Show
We're for the rats. You got to smash the rats. Yeah, that was the rat man.
Oh god! I mean, I get that it like I understand that being that guy, it wouldn't hit. Like, but I didn't know it was considered dishonorable. Like, you know, I personally wouldn't want to plumb, but I don't look at a plumber and go, ugh. Gross, you're the plumber. You know what I mean? But back then, I guess they did.
Yeah. So it was a dishonorable trade, but it was paid well or whatever. But so you're like, why the fuck did people ever do any of these, right? Any of these dishonorable trades or whatnot? Well, back then, like with almost everything else, you just did what your daddy did. Like,
of course,
my daddy was an executioner. His daddy was an executioner. It was all like hereditary in nature.
Goddamn, my son's gonna cut people's fucking heads off.
Yeah. So they usually married into other executioner families and stuff. Like
that's metal.
They just, you know, only like socialized amongst themselves. And there's only one executioner in one area. So you're talking about like the next town over that headsman. You better hope he's got a daughter that can marry your son or whatever, or else you're both fucked. Like, but there was this dude, there's a somewhat about as famous as a medieval executioner can be. He was in Germany. His name is Franz Schmidt.
Oh, that's a great name for that
often
guy.
Called Meister Franz. And he was an executioner. He was an executioner in Nuremberg in the early 1600s for like 45 years. And he's noteworthy because he kept a journal of that experience his whole time. And so it's become like a primary source years later. Like it's, a journal of a headsman's journal or whatever. And in 45 years, how many people you think he killed?
Oh, God.
In Nuremberg. Okay. It's not going to be as many as you think.
Okay, because I was going to say, like, I wouldn't say necessarily the math would run out to one a day. I'm going to say, 100 a year, 4,500 heads he lopped off.
361.
What? In 45 goddamn years?
Yeah, I know,
and that's all he had to do? Like,
No. I should have mentioned that too. No, the executioner had other duties. He he was also the the royal torturer, because I think they also did a whole lot of that, right?
Yeah, that's true. They didn't kill everybody. They just made their lives miserable.
Yeah, smushing fingernails and other such, not putting people on a big wheel and cranking it and all that shit. Well, that was the executioner had to do that too, right?
Yeah.
In addition to those things, a lot of them were also healers, which is ironic.
Yeah.
But I guess it's just back then, it's just like, do you do anything at all with the human body? You a doctor now.
Well, it makes sense.
Are you a doctor? Kill this robber. Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Yes, right.
Well, it's like this guy, we entrust him to control life and death.
Yeah,
he decides when someone dies, so naturally we let him decide when someone can live, right?
Yes. So they did all that other stuff too, but he killed 361 people in 45 years, and he kept a detailed account of all of them. I said it's like a hereditary thing. His daddy was an executioner, but his dad, Heinrich Schmidt, was originally just a woodsman, like a lumberjack, right? And one day in a small village in Bavaria, Germany, part of Germany.
I hear it's beautiful.
I've heard that too. One day, the local lord, the Lord of Brandenburg-Kulmbach, Albrecht II, was in town in this small village, and there was these three dudes who were horse thieves or something like that or whatever. And
I love that that's your go-to, but of course it would be. Why wouldn't it be?
What?
Horse thieves.
Yeah.
Or pheasant thieves. It was a thief of some kind, and that's what it was for stealing.
It was somebody, and so the local lord, who was a tyrant, like a bit of an asshole, was in town, and they had these dudes who he said they need to be hanged, right?
Yeah.
But this is like a little village, and they didn't have an executioner, and so this lord just picked Franz's dad. Like, he literally just pointed at him and was like, "You get up here and kill these motherfuckers right now." And he had no choice but to do it. He couldn't say no, but also that just meant you and your entire bloodline are now executioners from this day forth forever, because this happened, right? And so that's what happened. They just became executioners after that. So Franz was an executioner his entire adult life. But he retired, in 1617 after 45 years, right? 58. He was 63 years old. Pretty good run.
Old age. Yeah.
Pretty good. Absolutely. And it says in his Wikipedia, after he retired in 1617, he began a new lucrative career as a medical consultant. What do you think he would say? More leeches. Less leeches.
I'm going to say don't cut their heads off.
Yeah,
that seems like it always kills them.
Don't cut his head off.
But yeah, probably more leeches. Have you tried draining all his blood and putting in that bucket and then making him drink this bucket full of different blood?
Right. But I guess he was hitting at that somehow. And so after a couple years of doing that, he received the imperial favor of Ferdinand II, naming him an Ehrlich, i.e. an honorable member of society, and thus removing the stain of social stigma from a life spent as an executioner. He was buried with honors in one of Nuremberg's most prominent cemeteries, and the grave is still present there to this day. So,
well, I'll be goddamn.
He made a hit somehow, but
he did make it hit. Then we don't.
He didn't just cut people's heads off. They had different methods of execution for different things. So he had to hang people, chop people's heads off, break them on a wheel. That's wild. Burn them on a stick. That too. Or drown them.
Right.
So yeah.
You think he had his favorites?
I know that we know from his journal that drowning people didn't hit for him. So he tried to get out every time he was supposed to drown somebody, he would say, "Can I just cut the head off?" And
right.
And usually the judge or whatever would be like, that's fine.
Whatever, as long as they're dead.
I think I'd rather just cut somebody's head off than forcibly hold a person underwater. Yeah, so that didn't hit for him. But he cut off a lot of ears, a lot of fingers, flogged the shit out of people.
So many people.
So many people. And yeah, lived to a ripe old age.
It'd be a hell of a job to get fired from. Imagine not doing that well. You know what I'm saying? Like you weren't good
yeah,
at
keeps
cutting
taking 5 or 6 swings, you know, that type of thing. I mean that wouldn't hit, you know, like for anybody.
No.
Fucking making the beheading all awkward and stuff.
Are there still places that this dude would be employed? I mean, I know in like some of these like super shite countries, I guess they still have an executioner, but here, like in America, you know, I feel like, and I could be wrong, it's just whichever prison guard happens to be standing closest to the lever.
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know, because I also tend to think it's something like what you just said, but also maybe that I know that we've done things before. I think maybe in some prisons it's like it's multiple prison guards. They all flip a switch and they don't know which switch did the thing, type of thing. Because I know they've done that with
shooting.
When we had firing squads. Yeah, they'd line up a whole line of dudes in firing squads. And some of the guns had blanks in them, and some of them had real bullets, and they all shot at the guy, so nobody knew who like really killed the person who do shit like that. So
I bet that didn't hit for some of them.
Yeah, let's see. I just see who like they'd executes.
Be like, I want to make sure my goddamn bullet goes into this dude. Man, firing squads. Do we still, you know what? Actually, I heard not that long ago that there was like you could still do firing squad in the US and someone actually took it. And it was like, I want to say that it was like within 10 years. And I got to say, I don't know if I wouldn't pick that one. You know, if I was going out, like it seems like pretty quick, immediate, and kind of metal.
Yeah. Yeah, you hear that like, you know, like lethal injection or whatever. It's like, they just shoot you up and stuff and you
it apparently hurts.
Fall asleep and die. I was about to say, but then you hear that like, it apparently that super don't hit. It's not like a peaceful process or whatnot.
It's sort of like on Justified, the Margot Martindale shit when she would kill people with Puttin, and it would like really hurt. And like which case, like I gotta say, I think firing squad is like the most immediate hittingest one.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think the French was doing it all right with the guillotine.
Yeah, that's the number one, man. Henry Guillotine.
I mean, that's just like, you know,
immediate.
Except, you know, they say like your head do live for a couple more seconds.
Like a chicken. Yeah.
And that's got to be wild insane for your head. Yeah.
Bruh.
You know, they did back during the French Revolution, or I think when they was guillotining the shit out of everybody all the time, some of the science people they had around at the time was like, well, you know, we should try to figure this out. And they would tell people that were condemned to death, they're like, hey, listen, you know, we know you're probably not inclined to do us any favors or nothing on account of we're about to chop your head off. But if you were feeling, you know, generous or plucky about it, if you could give us some kind of sign
right
after your head fall in that bucket,
whistle,
that you are right, that you are still alive inside your head, that would hit for us, right? And nobody ever winked at them or anything, which would, you know, that'd have been pretty cool. But apparently a few of those people, I remember reading, I read this years ago, I can't remember where, but apparently a few of those people, head lands on the ground and then goes,
oh, wow.
Yeah. So
I didn't like that.
Pretty fucked up. Yeah.
I didn't like thinking about that. That's rough.
Yeah. And if you're only listening, they just open their mouth in a screaming, silent scream. Because, you know, their vocal cords are cut. You can't scream.
Right.
But you can make the face of someone screaming, which I feel like is apropos of a severed head.
That's what you would do. Like, God damn, imagine wanting to scream, but you can't. God damn. Like, whoa.
Yeah. Have you ever read the short story, I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream?
No.
It's fucking metal as fuck, dude. It's awesome. Harlan Ellison, I think is his name, or something like that.
What's the gist here?
It's a sci-fi short story set in the far distant future where like mankind has created this super advanced AI which has turned on humanity and killed everybody, right? But the super advanced AI hates humans so much.
Yeah.
He maintains a little menagerie of these like 10 human slave subjects that he just tortures endlessly throughout their whole existence. Right.
Right.
And the story is about those 10 people under the under the constant torture and torment of this. And he's like, the AI is so advanced, it can do things like, it can make your mouth disappear.
Holy shit. Is that what that Black Mirror episode was based on? The SS whatever, because that Jesse Plemons, like, he's that guy, and like he creates these people that he can make their mouth disappear, and like he sort of tortures them all through space and time.
Yeah, maybe it might have been inspired by. It's a pretty famous sci-fi story, and it's fucking gnarly. But but I just always
I definitely want to read that. Well, speaking
it's a great title, it's like immediately that it's some wild shit.
Yeah. This ain't gonna hit.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of super famous, I would like to conclude my Harry Houdini, if that's okay with you, Trey.
Yeah, hang on. Yes, it is. But I looked this up. Oh, okay, so that was true. I felt like I was pulling that fully out of my butt. But so in terms of lethal injection, it's a machine manufactured by this feller. The machine is controlled by 3 key switches. The warden gives the order of execution. When the execution order is given, there are 3 corrections officers assigned to each of the 3 keys. Only one of those keys is live.
Okay.
So it's uncertain which one of them initiates the procedure. So that is how they do it. So there's no one single executioner, and you've always got plausible deniability if you're one of the key turners or whatever.
I still would feel like I did it. You know what I mean? I don't know if like psychoanalytically that would work on me. Like be like, oh no, I feel great because it might not have been me. Like if you're a person that's going to get fucked up over those things, I feel like I would still get fucked up. That's just me.
Yeah, very possible, because I'd definitely be in my head like, I know it was me. It was totally me. Why wouldn't it be me? It wouldn't hit for it to be me, so I know that it was me. There's no doubt it was me.
Yeah, exactly.
Let me, and also really quick, because I meant to do this earlier.
No, please, take your time.
Franz Schmidt, the guy who kept the journal of all the people he executed, some of them are in more detail than others, but a lot of them, he goes into detail on what the person did, and it's like, maybe that's,
to like deserve the crime?
It's at him to like justify, and like, so you can see why I killed this motherfucker, right? Like I don't know. So for example, this is one of those. He executed this guy named Klaus Reinhardt of Failsdorf, and I'm reading this directly from here, a murderer who committed 3 murders with an associate. First, he shot dead his companion. Secondly, a miller's man who helped him to attack and plunder a mill by night. The third case was again at a mill called the Fox Mill in the mountains, which he attacked at night with a companion. They shot the miller dead, did violence to the miller's wife and the maid, obliged them to fry some eggs in fat, and laid these eggs on the dead miller's body. Then forced the miller's wife to join them in eating those eggs. Afterwards, he kicked the miller's body and said, "Miller, how do you like this morsel?" So
how do you like these eggs?
He really hit him with a, how you like these apples? But it was eggs, and in the 1500s, yeah. He also plundered the mill. For these things, I executed him on the wheel at Grates. So that feller got broken on the wheel, and don't sound like he didn't deserve it. But
I agree. If only
Pass was wild. Pass did not hit.
If only for wasting the eggs. You know what I mean? Like,
they ate them, I think. They ate
off the dead guy?
Off the dead guy, yeah. Made a woman eat eggs off her dead husband's body. That's pretty gnarly.
That's that's some Saul shit. Yeah, he definitely had to go. Is there
also like it just wouldn't hit to eat an egg off of like any kind of body. You know what I mean?
The belly button would be the best place, because it would sort of like
keep the yolk.
It would keep
the
yolk
to sop the. But his belly button was like a hairy ass peasant stank belly button. Imagine how bad a peasant's belly button stank, bro. God damn.
A peasant's belly button.
Yeah.
Is one of the worst things I can think of.
Just mold and the plague in there, fucking rat droppings and God knows what else.
Like a peasant's belly button back then is probably the modern equivalent to just our butthole. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Cause like we don't even need to get into what they butthole was like.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like it don't even need to be said. Like any actual crevice in the nether regions they had. Oh my God. Unbelievable. Yeah. But their belly button was probably the modern day asshole of man. That is how much it did not hit to be a peasant.
That is a sound assumption, in my opinion. Listen, guys, cold turkey may be great on sandwiches, but there's a better way to break your bad habits. We're not talking about some weird mind voodoo from your crazy neighbor, or tracking when Mercury's in retrograde, or whatever the moon's up to, or lighting your candles, or putting your crystals out, or any of that type of stuff. We're talking about our sponsor, Fume, and they look at the problem in a different way. Not everything in a bad habit is wrong, so instead of a drastic, uncomfortable change, why not just remove the bad from your habit? Fume is an innovative, award-nominated device that does just that. Instead of electronics, Fume is completely natural. Instead of vapor, Fume uses flavored air. And instead of harmful chemicals, Fume uses all-natural, delicious flavors. You get it. Instead of bad, Fume is good. It's a habit you're free to enjoy and makes replacing your bad habit easy. Your Fume comes with an adjustable airflow dial and is designed with movable parts and magnets for fidgeting, giving your fingers a lot to do, which is helpful for de-stressing and anxiety while breaking said habits. Joe, tell them your experience with it.
Well, I concur. Fume, good. Fume allows me to live my life in a way that I describe as oxygen plus, right? We all have oxygen. Everybody's got the same oxygen, but I like my life to be heightened. And with Fume, I get oxygen plus. It's oxygen that tastes good, right? It's sweet. You put it to your lips. It's a nice little weighted thingy that makes my oxygen hit harder. It's a portable oxygen hitter harder thing. It's beautiful, feels great, and it tastes like fresh. Like I got one that's orange, and it's like orange breath. Who don't love orange breath? Stopping is something we all put off because it's hard, but switching to Fume is easy, enjoyable, and even fun. Fume has served over 100,000 customers and has thousands of success stories, and there's no reason that can't be you. Join Fume in accelerating humanity's breakup from destructive habits by picking up the Journey Pack today. Head to tryfume.com and use code POA to save 10% off when you get the Journey Pack today. That's tryfum.com and use code POA to save an additional 10% off your order today. Tryfume.com/POA. Code POA. Fume good. Fume good.
All right. Houdini part 2. Let's
Houdini
go.
Part 2. When we left off, I was talking about him and his brother and how they, people thought that they didn't hit for each other, but they really did hit for each other. Now, Houdini was such a celebrity at these times, and he was sort of like a of his time John Cena, in the sense that in the sense that, number one, you can't see me. That's what magicians do.
I get it.
I just made that up on the spot, actually. But what I meant was that he performed magic at children's hospitals a lot without like taking a fee or anything. It was just something that was like very important to him because he had a rough childhood. He wanted to give back to the children. Also, how tall do you think Houdini was?
I mean, he's escaping out of shit all the time. He's a slippery little fucker, you would imagine. And also, this was back in the day, so 5'3"?
5'5". Yeah.
Okay.
So that's, you're right in it. And of course, now that I think about it, it makes sense. But like anytime I've ever seen Houdini depicted, it's like he's larger than life, so you don't really think about it. But like 5'5" is pretty goddamn short.
Yeah.
You know? Like, no offense to, but no offense to like the short kings out there who are listening, but Houdini was very much a short king. He, like I said, he branched out from actual, like the magic that we would normally see, like the sleight of hand, to doing like escapism and stuff. Like he invented the milk can escape, which was where they take what, I guess milk came in a can back then. The milkman would come and give you a can of milk.
Yeah, I always thought it was, the bottles.
The bottle,
or the little package. He set those down and fucks your wife. And then leave. Yeah, right. yeah. Everybody knows that. Yeah.
Oh, that might be the greatest display of our chemistry ever once. But yeah, I too thought it, because of that, it was the bottle. We've all seen but it was a can. And so he created like this, big, huge milk can that would fit a 5'5" man. He would have them. This is the part that I want to get into. He would, he would get in it. It'd be filled with water, not milk, which I think was like kind of an oversight. Like if you're going to make it the milk can. Like, you should get in there with the milk, just me. And then they would
see through it, right?
You could not see through it. And that's actually the part that I want to get to. Not you couldn't see through it. They would padlock him shut. And not only could you not see through it, every time he was about to do some of this shit, and of course it makes sense from his perspective, but they always, when you see magicians do this, they bring this big curtain out.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Okay. That don't hit. You know what I mean?
I've always thought that, dude. I've always thought that about magicians. I've always been
like, we may as well not even be here.
Yeah, right. Exactly. It's like, well, clearly you're doing something behind the curtain
that I can't see.
Yeah, right. And it's like that. I remember, dude. I swear to God, I have this like vivid memory from. I could not have been older than a first grader, like kindergarten or first grade. I don't have many memories from back then, but I have one from being at school, and I've never lost it. And I've always thought it was so funny, but I've asked other like Thompson, whoever, and none of them remember it. So it's like, I don't know, but I remember them taking us into the gym one day, and they had got this magician to come in and do like a little magic show for us, the like little kids at the elementary school in the gym. And this dude was like, he was like a magician, but he was sort of like dressed like a ninja, except as like a purple ninja is how I remember it. And he didn't talk. He just like pulled shit out of bags and scarves and whatever else and stuff. But I remember like his big thing. He had this big ass curtain set up in the middle of the room. And he would like, in my recollection, he'd take a bag or something and he'd like stand in front of the curtain and, okay, you're me, you're in the audience. I'm the magician. The curtain is back here, right? He's facing the audience of kids. He'd show like, hey, this bag's empty. You see this bag's empty? And then he'd like, magic shimmy behind the curtain and come around the other side and like, look, there's a rabbit in this bag or whatever now. But it's like, but he would circle behind the curtain.
Yeah.
Every time.
Where the rabbit is.
It's right. Yeah. The whole time at like 5 or 6, I was sitting there like, I'm pretty sure the rabbit's back behind that curtain. Like,
right.
Clearly you have got shit behind the curtain that you're just grabbing, like, and, but I mean, dude, this was in fucking Salina, Tennessee. You doing like elementary school magic shows in Salina, Tennessee. Like, it wasn't Nate Bargatze's dad. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, it wasn't like, which if y'all don't know, his dad's like a magician who I reckon actually hits. Yeah.
Who shits on kids, apparently, which hits.
This was some low level feller, but, yeah, the curtain has always been kind of wild to me, but he's already inside of a can that you can't. That's why I asked if it was like, it's a metal can, so you can't see through it. If you can't see through it, I mean, why do you even need a curtain?
I don't know, but they would put the curtain there, and like he actually was doing these things, but I don't know, because like to me, it's like he actually is getting out of them, like he's constraining the locks or whatever. But then like you put the curtain there, and I'm like, why am I in the audience not thinking that 3 people get up on a ladder and unlock this shit for him? Like, why wouldn't I think that happened? By the way, I want to say this, and then we'll never talk about it again. How awesome would it be a Danny McBride led movie about a magician who was at the level of doing Salina kindergarten shows? That would be fucking amazing.
That would hit.
Dark and depressing. Like, you didn't think about it at the time. Like, you're like, oh, the Magic Man, but that dude's life fucking sucks. Like, that is not what he wanted to do with his wizardry,
No, not at all.
Anyways, yeah, the curtain thing has always bugged me, but he invented a lot of this stuff. Like, he invented the Chinese water torture cell, which like you saw in The Prestige, kind of like that, where like he's, in the fucking water and he's got to get out and shit. He also invented, he's the first guy that ever started doing handcuff tricks. And this is really ingenious, how this would go down. So he just figured out how to get out of handcuffs, right? Realistically, what would happen was that somebody would lock him up. They would have the key, right? He had this skill where he could swallow things and keep them right here in his throat. And then whenever he needed it, he could just go and just puke it up or whatever. So what would happen?
That's pretty wild.
It's pretty wild.
How do you develop that skill? You know what I mean?
I don't know.
How many times you just actually I ate that key. I might have to poop that key out later, or nearly choked to death. Also, it's I'm assuming you can't, when you've got something in your neck compartment, right?
Yeah,
you can't otherwise eat stuff, probably.
Of course.
Right. Right. So yeah,
or it would go down.
Yeah.
Well,
weird.
Him and his wife Bess, what happened was he would do these handcuff tricks, and he became really popular for him. So naturally, like, he would turn up places, and people would come and they'd be like, "Hey, I've got my own handcuffs that I've had specifically made for you, right? So you're not going to be able to get out of these goddamn handcuffs." So what would happen was people would bring their own handcuffs, and Houdini would ask them, he's like, "Would you mind if I study them, right? Do you mind if I look at them?" When they'd be like, yeah, no problem whatsoever. Well, while he's studying them, his wife would also, and this person would have a key, by the way. They're like, "This is, I'll get you out of this. Like, don't worry, I've got this key." So Houdini, while he's studying it, his wife is also studying it. And then she would like slip out and unbeknownst to everyone, and she would go into the back to their ring of just 1,000 fucking keys. She would pick the one that she thought looked the most like that one because they had those things. She would get it, right? Then she would put the key in her mouth. She would give Houdini a kiss, right? Houdini would have the key in his mouth. Then he would palm it, and he would somehow take the actual key from that person and replace it with their key that kind of looked like it. And then he would get out of the fucking handcuffs, and they'd be like, "There's no goddamn way." You know what I mean?
And so then that person's key wouldn't work anymore because he took the real one?
I guess. I don't know if they ended up doing like a switch, but my point is like, all of that is just as impressive to me as someone who could mysteriously get out of handcuffs. Like, all the trickery and stuff behind it is like equally, because this person's not magic, right?
Right.
And for the record, he never purported to be. And I do want to get into that later, because there are some people who like or know better that genuinely believed Houdini was a goddamn wizard. Some smart people, some people that have done some very famous things that you and I both know and love and would consider this person a smart person. Anyways.
I mean, sometimes, dude, I watch clips of magicians, or let alone in person or whatever, and I kind of can't help but be like, this motherfucker's a goddamn wizard. You know what I mean?
I know, but like the real,
because I just know. I know you do know. You're like, I know there is some kind of trick to this or whatever, but also I just don't see what it could possibly be. So,
right. But my point is, though, is that to me, and I'm sure to you, is the impressive part. Is like, however it is the fuck they're doing it.
Yes,
not like,
but if magic, if somebody really was a wizard, I mean, that would be the impressive part
for sure. But I don't think they'd be doing that.
Right. What do you think they'd be doing with it? Like magicking up bank heist shit or something?
Making like Elon Musk's fortune disappear and reappear in their fucking bank account or something like that. I just don't think they would be like of course, who knows? Maybe those people, that's their cover, is like, no, I'm just a trickster, and they're actually wizards, walking among us. So towards the latter part of his career is when the movies start coming out. And the movies did, we talked about this in the other episode. The movies didn't hit for a lot of vaudevillian acts because what they didn't really translate to that, and they were like, oh, this is the death knell. Well, Houdini was getting older, and it actually like super hit for him because like he immediately keyed in on like what movies could be. He was like, oh my God, I could do one trick one time and it be seen by thousands, millions of people. And I would only have to do it one time. Whereas like right now, what I'm doing is doing that one trick, but in this city, this city, this city, this city, this city. He's like, and my body's breaking down. I'm getting older. I don't really want to travel that much. So like going into the film business was something he saw as like a great thing. And he did that shit. The only problem was he was a super terrible actor. God, like awful. But the thing is that like, this is when the movies first started. So no one really had anything to compare him to. You know what I'm saying? And
because
we're talking
about silent movies he's making.
Yeah, silent movies
Why
and
does
shit.
acting even matter? Just film him doing some Houdini shit. I thought back then they were just filming trains going by, and they were like, "This is a movie, the new movie, The Train."
That was
and
like the first
"Fuck!" Right? Like so, like you couldn't just film him doing some Houdini shit and just put that out. Like, why is my man acting at all? You know, just
couldn't agree more. I guess it's just that like once you do that one trick, now you got to do another thing. And like he started a production company that didn't really hit, but because it was so early and there was nothing to compare it to, he actually was one of Hollywood's earliest like action stars, like Houdini, and his name carried a lot of value to it. Like, I'm not gonna say it's the exact same, but it's a little bit like The Rock jumping into movies. He already had established from wrestling, and now I'm going to go do this other thing. So Houdini, a lot like The Rock in that way.
Yeah.
He super hated people stealing his act, but it happened all the time. Like people would be like, "Oh, I'm going to come out of a milk can now," right? And all these.
You know what's wild to me about that is, remember we talked about on a recent episode, like during vaudeville, I always read, like in Cliff Nesteroff's book and in other places, I always read that back then, everybody stole everybody's acts, and it wasn't even like really frowned upon. Like in the vaudeville world, it was like expected. Like people would be like, "Whose act you doing?" They'd be like, "I'm doing the St. Louis hobo," and like, that's a great one. That's a great
the
one.
Old Charleston.
Yeah, right. Like, yeah, So, like, was he also a pioneer in giving a shit about ownership of acts and bits and stuff?
He was, because he was the one actually inventing these acts, right? And so he didn't like it when someone would come along and go, "I think I see how you did that. I'm going to do it." Now, here was the fucking problem, though. In order to be litigious about someone doing your act, you have to get a patent on that thing that you're doing. Like the milk crate thing, he would have to get a patent on it. Now, here's where Houdini runs into a problem, because legally, in order to get a patent on something, you have to show the patent office how it works. And he was like, "Oh, absolutely not. I will not do that." And so he just had to deal with the fact that people were going to keep copying him and shit. Now comes a creative loophole that him or his people finally figured out, especially with movies happening. He couldn't patent something without giving his shit away, but he could copyright his act by either recording the act, or there was at one point that all he did was he set up a one-man show, invited one person to do it, and this person was like a witness for like the copyright whatever thing, did it in front of them just to be like, "Okay, that's mine, it's copywritten. Anyone that does it from now on is infringing upon me and my copywritten shit, and therefore they can't," right?
Yeah.
He was also a big time, he loved flying, because Houdini was just like, whatever the new hotness is, that's what I want to do. The Wright brothers had like just dropped, which like, dude, I can't imagine like having grown up in a time where it's always been planes, and there really hasn't been any in my lifetime. Have we seen much innovation in the world of planes that we know of?
No, not on a major scale, not in like commercial flight. I was just thinking last night, there was in like the 70s and 80s, they came out with a super fast commercial plane that then they got rid of. And I've always wondered why they got rid of it.
People died.
See, I don't know, because I was just thinking it's like the Concorde. You ever heard of the Concorde?
Yes.
The Concorde, only 14 Concorde aircraft ever went into service. It was a supersonic passenger plane, and it started. They started working on it in the 60s, and then it,
so we're talking like New York to California in an hour.
Now, I don't know if it's an hour, but like, I mean, it's shorter than it takes now. I wish I could find something on here that,
they stay announcing that they've got this ability in trains, and we just shit all fucking over it and can never have it.
$3 hours is the Concorde could do London to New York in 3 hours.
Wow.
Which I think a regular plane, I think it's like 5 for that flight.
Oh, is it? It's not, I mean, still, it's pretty good. Maybe it's just not worth the risk.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. But anyway, I've often wondered, like, first of all, yes, to be around back then when planes first came out is wild because like there's still people today who are afraid of flying today after planes have been around forever and like safer than cars and all that shit and everything. Right. And like there's still people who are afraid to fly. Imagine back then, dude.
Oh,
the people that were like flying back then were like fucking lunatic. They were like the adrenaline junkies of today. Yes. Like it was a whole different story.
That's what I was then. That's what I was trying to get to. Like, I think the only thing that to compare to like what it was like back then, going from we've never had planes to we have planes, would probably be like if tomorrow they announced that we could teleport. You know what I mean? Yeah. And like, 500 years from now, there will be people going like, can you believe people were scared to teleport? But like, fucking, of course we were. You know what I mean? Like, I've already
decided, I've literally like made the conscientious decision in my head that I will never teleport if I'm,
explain to the audience.
See, I brought this up I know I brought it up on Well Read. This has been a long-standing thing with me for a long time, and I'll bring it up every few months because I'm kind of always thinking about it.
It's coming.
First of all, I don't know that maybe we'll even be around to see teleportation stuff, but basically, like if you say teleport, you mean like not portals, right? Like portals, I would fuck with, right? Like you like.
Yeah, I would fuck with portals too.
Like if every house, like dude, if you had a portal in your house that went to the local portal station, but obviously you could turn your house portal on and off. People can't just come out whenever. You could turn it off, but then you turn it on. You walk into the portal station that they build in downtown Los Angeles or in Chattanooga or whatever, and in the portal station, there's portals to
London,
Paris, England, wherever, and then like you go to the one in London, and there's a smaller portal station to go to Doncaster or Manchester. Whatever, you know what I mean?
They got these so hard.
That would fucking rule, dude. You could effectively
I would start touring again heavily.
You could walk from your bedroom into like the south of France in like 15 minutes by just going through these various like that.
Do a show, then immediately be back home with your kids. That's where I think
that would hit so hard, right?
It'd be unreal.
And I would absolutely do that. But teleporting though, where it's like you stand under a thing that fucking beams you up and takes you somewhere else and beams you back down or whatever. No, I'm never going to trust that no matter what, because I read this thought experiment once, and we've been talking about the Prestige, right? And it happens in the Prestige, but it's like basically the idea that like, imagine every day you go to work in London because teleportation has been a thing for a while, and you go to like the teleportation center in Chattanooga and they zip, and then later you come out in London. You do that every day, right? But one day you go into the teleportation office in Chattanooga and they go zip, and you're still standing there. You're like, fuck, it didn't work. So you walk out to the office, you tell her like, that didn't work, right? And she's like, I'm not so sure. What do you mean? And then they show you the like security camera feed from the office in London, and there you are. You pop up, you show up, and you walk off to your job in London, right? And you're like, well, I know I'm not. I'm still standing right here.
Right.
And they're like, well, no, you could see that clearly you came out the other side.
And this is how this bureaucratic conversation would fucking go to.
And so now the only thing that malfunctioned was the disintegration part of this side of you. So all it needs to do is you just walk back in there and we'll finish the process, and you can continue on about your day in London, but you're gonna be sitting there like, I'm not in London. That's a fucking clone of me that's in London.
And now you got to go kill him.
But now that's like, there's no way to ever know I can think of. There's no way to ever know with certainty that is not what's happening every time people are teleported. I.e., it's not you. It's a perfect reproduction of you down to the atomic level, right? And that reproduction, it's going to have all your memories. It's going to have all your memories that up to the point you walked in the teleporter room. So it's going to be born freshly into the world from nothing, right? Or whatever, but it has every memory you've ever had. So it's going to walk out thinking like, I'm the Cho. That just worked, right? And it's going to believe that fully. But the you that got vaporized on the other end to get sent over there, you just died. So like you walked into the teleporter and blackness forever. You're dead forever now. There's just a perfect copy of you who now exist in a different place. And that happened every time you teleport. And ever since that like possibility got brought to my attention, I've been like, I don't fuck with teleporters.
Yeah. And I've always said to you, to me, that sounds like the perfect scenario for someone who is who wants to kill themselves,
yes,
but doesn't want their family to have to grieve. Because I go through there, boom, it kills me, but then me, a perfect clone of me, continues on for everyone else. So like, I don't know,
being sad. Yeah.
I might fuck with it. You know what I'm saying? Anyways,
suicidal, yeah, that'd be the ultimate pathway for sure. But I just think if you're just trying to go to Thailand for a couple of days, like,
not worth it.
It wouldn't hit to just vanish into oblivion.
You would never know.
You never see Thailand. A fucking copy of you would, you know.
But portals, though,
pork a lady boy. Portals, that's what's up,
dude. Can you imagine?
That's what we need to be fucking with is portals.
Yes.
All right, we need
I agree.
Fucking wormhole generators, something. I don't know. Figure it out, science, because that's what I want.
I think about that all the time because, like, I'm less and less wanting to leave my house and go on tour and do things because of like my kid. But if like there were portals where it's like I could just bloop do a show in London, bloop come straight back home, like, oh my Lord.
I mean, you also could you could be at your house the whole time. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Like you could be pre-game doing your whatever pre-show ritual in your bedroom, and then it's like, all right, your curtain calls in 5 minutes.
Hit
you
the
just
portal.
Walk through the portal, fucking do the thing,
God, that'd be amazing. Anyways, so I want to get into this is spiritualism, not portals, but still head trippy shit. So mediums did not hit for Houdini. He did not fuck with the spiritualist movement at all. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, you will know him from writing Sherlock Holmes. Yes.
Yeah.
Him and Houdini were really good friends, but like Arthur Conan Doyle was super into this spiritualism shit. And he was so into, him and his wife both were like super into spiritualism, so much so that he thought Houdini was a literal magic man. And Houdini would tell him all the time, he's like, bro, he's like, I'm not going to tell you how I do it, but like all I'm doing is tricks. These are tricks to make it appear. He goes, and I've never purported to anyone that I'm a magic man. Like everyone knows I'm doing tricks. I'm not going to reveal them, but I'm not some goddamn ghoul or whatever. And so Arthur Conan Doyle was like, you know, Ron Burgundy, like, I don't believe you. You know, like that whole, he's like, no, you're a fucking wizard. So Houdini, his mama dies. And Houdini's like a huge mama's boy. Like that's, you know, it tears him apart. And Arthur Conan Doyle, trying to be like supportive of Houdini, him and his wife are like, hey, we want to have you over for a seance. My wife wants to do a seance so that you can talk to your mom. Now, Houdini is already like, man, fuck all this shit. It's bullshit. But like, he also wants to be boys with the Sherlock Holmes guy. So he's like, all right, well, like, I'll go in there with, you know, some sort of open mind. Well, during...
Hey, imagine me or you, either one. We've talked about this on Thread before, but it's very funny to me. Imagine me or you, either one was hanging out in Hollywood and there was some like kind of Hollywood big shot who invited us to some kind of like seance thing with like a Ouija, and we don't want to go, but we're like, oh, can't they hit too hard? I got to go.
Ron Howard.
There, and they're like, yeah, right. And he's like, and they say like, all right, Trey, I think we're contacting I think it's your papaw. Your papaw's here. Trey, let's see what your papaw has to say. And it's a Ouija board, and it floats over, and it goes to the letter N. Yeah, right. The letter I. And we're like,
I think he's saying night night. All right, we gotta go.
Yeah, he's like, fucking flip the board over. Be like, all right. I was like, hey, that's enough. We can stop now. Thank you.
No, I think he was stationed in Nigeria and wanted to say some things about it. What's going on? No, fuck it.
It's so funny.
Just let the dead stay dead. So that's so goddamn funny. Anyways, Houdini already didn't like it, but he wanted to be friends with these people. So during this seance, Arthur Conan Doyle's wife was said to have like taken on the spirit of Houdini's mom, and Houdini's mom was speaking through her. And like, this did not set well with him at all. Cause he was like, I already thought, yeah, right.
Like,
so, but he's still like, okay, I'm going to let her get through it. But he already's like, I know this is fucking bullshit, but how he was able to prove to them, like, I got you, this is fucking bullshit, was Arthur Conan Doyle's wife, while she was Houdini's mom, she made the sign of the cross, like the Catholic thing.
And Houdini's Jewish, right?
And Houdini's mom was Jewish. And so like, he was like, fuck you. This is bullshit. Like, not my mama. You know what I mean? She wasn't no goddamn, whatever. So not only did this make
me feel like they didn't like Jews because so many people back then didn't, and they didn't know he was a Jew. Or like, it's bullshit. And they're like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
Like, my mom wasn't a cat. Well, what was she then? She was a, don't worry about it.
I just know it wasn't that.
Just know it wasn't that. She wouldn't have done that. Whatever. Right. Yeah. They slowly suss out that he's a secret Jew.
Yeah. Or that's when they give up that it was bullshit because they're like, we wouldn't have done this. We knew she was a goddamn Jew.
Right. Like, you're Jewish. Get the fuck out. We don't have to. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So, anyways,
it's funny to think that Sir Arthur Conan Doyle.
Why you fucking genius? No shit, Sherlock. How'd you not know? So, anyways, after this, not only did this ruin their friendship, but this sent Houdini down this path of like, I'm dedicating my entire life to letting everyone know that spiritualists and mediums fucking suck. They don't hit, and they're full of shit. Like, he dedicated his life to this. There was this medium in Boston who was getting like very, very popular. Like, she would do shows sort of like that John Edwards fuck. Houdini, with all his money, teamed up with the American Scientific Journal just to expose her, then put out a pamphlet specifically talking about not just spiritualism, not just mediumism, but that this lady does not hit.
Right. Yeah.
Like, he got the entire scientific community to back him and going, hey, let everybody know she don't hit. And they did.
Yeah, that's been a, I was thinking it's wild for a guy who's like a professional deceiver of people to be so hard up about that. But I mean, you already said like
they
Houdini,
were
I guess, was always
for it to be real.
And he never was. Like, it'd be different if Houdini was like, no, this is actual wizardry that I'm doing. This is sorcery that cannot be explained by, the minds of human scientists or whatever. But he was never doing that. He was like, no, I'm an illusionist. I do tricks. I'm an escape artist, whatever. Like, there's a way to do this. I'm just not going to tell y'all what it is. Whereas these mediums and shit, they fronting like it's real, and I don't play that. That's a direct Houdini quote. They front like it's real, and I don't play that. Yeah.
Because he was questioned by people about this. He's like, what's the difference between what they're doing and what you're doing? He goes, well, the difference is that I don't purport to be a fucking wizard. You know, he's like, I'm doing tricks. I'm here to entertain you. These people are like tricking you emotionally. They are fucking with you emotionally. You know what I mean? They're trying to get your hard-earned dollar by saying that they're your grandma or some other fucking shit. He didn't like it. And, he made that one woman, basically her career disappeared.
Do you know who James Randi is, or maybe was? Yeah, it was. He died.
James Randi?
James Randi.
Wait, is
Jimmy
that the
Randi?
Guy? No, I don't know.
The Amazing Randi.
I've met a couple.
And yeah, me too. He was a magician like Houdini, but he actually dedicated his whole life to the other part, to going around and saying, "Hey, see this lady? She don't hit." But not just. He was like a professional skeptic and debunker, right?
Okay,
and
so like the Mythbusters.
So like he'd go on Johnny Carson, right? Like the same night as like a faith healer of the day or whatever. And he'd be like, this dude don't hit. This is all bullshit, whatever. And he'd like expose. And what was the dude with the spoons? Remember that there was a fucking guy from the 80s who like bent spoons with his mind.
Yes.
And he became like a big thing. Well, James Randi ended that dude's whole career. Right?
Really?
Like, yeah. He like
the Amazing Randi?
Yeah. He went on TV with that guy and like exposed him as being a fraud or whatever. Right. And that was like his whole thing.
God damn it. We got to do a whole show on Randy.
Yeah, let's see here. He also broke one of Houdini's records at one point. While pointing out that he was much younger than Houdini had been when he set the record. So this dude, I'm saying, I think this guy, like
Randy.
I think Randy here, like, I'm assuming he idolized Houdini completely, and like, because it seems like Uri Geller was the spoon bender. Okay. His name was Uri Geller. He was a mentalist with psychic powers in the 80s, and James Randi exposed him on TV and fucked his whole career up and shit. Anyway, yeah.
I'm glad he did. I mean, you know how Houdini died, correct?
Yeah, he got punched by a feller right in the stomach.
Yeah, the dude's name was J. Gordon Whitehead. And the thing is, Houdini had done that his whole life. Like, Houdini, and really all he was doing is Houdini had really strong abs, so he would constrict his abs right when they were going to punch him, and, he would be fine. Well, he's doing this talk at a college, and then, there's some students back there, and they're just like, I heard that you let people punch you in the stomach, and that apparently it don't hurt you. And he's like, yeah, that's right. So this fucking dumbass, big old loghead sumbitch named J. Gordon White, just not okay, 1, 2, 3. He just goes over and starts beating the shit out of Houdini, just punching him like a million times in his stomach. And Houdini was reported to go, okay, you did it. And the guy just kept fucking doing it, right? And Houdini wasn't prepared for it or whatever. And anyways, that ruptured his goddamn appendix. But Houdini was he had all these pains for a week. He finally goes to he has his doctor come to him, because that's what you do when you hit, is your doctor comes to you. You don't go to the fucking doctor. The doctor comes to him. He's like, all of this sounds like a ruptured appendix. You need to go to the hospital and have surgery. And Houdini was like, but I'm on tour. I can't do that. So he goes on and does a show and eventually dies right after the show. And I think very fitting, he died on Halloween night from a ruptured appendix. Halloween night. Ain't that something?
Yeah, indeed, that is something.
So there you go.
Went to the hospital, though. But
yeah, it would have been nice if he'd gone to the hospital, because then he could have done more shows and stuff. Always go to the hospital, folks, especially if you have a rupture.
Especially if your appendix explode.
Yeah. Because
especially then, you should go.
I've
always heard from people that had exploded appendices that super ain't it. Yeah, right. No. And so it's wild that he did a show anyway.
I know. I got a buddy who his appendix exploded, and he still can't drink Kentucky Fried Chicken sweet tea to this day, because that's what he was drinking when he started getting the pains, and he was like, "That's what did it."
Well, that's real dumb, but yeah,
but it's apparently a memorable
appendix, or not be anyway.
No,
the appendix don't even do nothing but just explode and kill you. Yeah,
yeah.
Well, that ain't it.
No, that's very much not it.
Stupid, the Lord.
I'm glad you brought up Randy, because I want to revisit him. But that's all I got on the great life of the wonderful, the magnificent Harry Houdini. So, fuck, we do airmail, don't we?
Mm-hmm.
That is a thing. That is a thing that we do. We're not done, Corey. And I do actually have some. I don't have them immediately up on my phone. I'm so sorry. I'm a fucking idiot. Okay.
That's okay.
Here we go.
This is like a 2-hour episode as it is anyway. So what a few
you gonna
more
do?
Minutes?
What you gonna do? Okay. Yeah. So, the subject line, baldness. Hi, Corey. I was fairly displeased with your suggestion that bald people look racist. Maybe you've seen too many prison movies with skinheads. Losing one's hair is a very natural thing, and just because a lot of deniers try to hide it by covering their heads with hats or toupees or shaving it off to make it look like a fashion choice doesn't take away from the natural beauty of the balding head. Sure, people like to make fun of us balding people, but they're probably jealous because their heads lack character. They probably have to spend a lot of time trying to make their hair look just the way they want it to look. Yeah, speaking about being in fucking denial, you have a nicely shaped head. You should be proud of your baldness. Embrace it. Let it empower you. And sure, make jokes about it too, but bald positive jokes. Take away the ability of the haired to try to put you down by laughing it up. Bald is beautiful. Steve Zanussi. Thank you, Steve. Trey?
Getting that Zanussi. The haired. I think that I wish you had more of Steve Zanussi in you, and I've said it for years. You could take a page out of his book, or a couple pages out of his bald-headed book. You know,
no, I think Steve.
I don't think you need to start calling the rest of us the haired and talking about how you're being held under the thumb of your haired oppressors or whatever the hell he was saying. It's like, no, just be bald and proud, though. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Steve. I agree with you. I'm only going to read.
Don't.
I don't at all, Steve. I love you and thank you for listening to the show, but I think you're making all this up. It don't hit for you. You don't like this. I'm only going to read a couple more, but I want to make sure that this one is one because, my God, this is about to hit for you so hard. Subject line, "Oh, Corey, you are so handsome." I said that to get your attention, but I still listen to this, Trey.
Okay.
I said that to get your attention, but I still mean it. You do not look like a racist anti-vaxxer. You look Oriental in a sinister, sexy way.
You don't know how perfect that is, Air Mailer, because we've it's been a running joke behind the scenes in this universe for a while with me and Joe and Drew and Smart Mark, whatever, that Corey actually kind of does look a little Asian, right? And it's it's funny because he's Cho, right? Which sounds like an Asian name, but like that's a total coincidence, right? But it's also like he loves noodles and
I do.
I don't know, wrestling, and other like. But he's like, there's just certain pictures of Corey where he looks super Asian, which is fine. It's fine that he looks Asian.
Of course, it's just remarkable.
Feel vindicated by someone else pointing out that he does kind of look Asian, because another thing y'all should know is that there's a racist mama in his hometown who makes Chinese noises at Corey anytime he comes into the gas station. He says
she ching chong China's me, as I say. Yeah, like I'll explain it every time I get something, and I go, "Oh," I give her my card, and I think she goes, "Oh, thank you, ching chong chang." Yeah, and then that's what she does, and I'm directly quoting her because I know I'm not supposed to be making those sounds.
Well, and I've said this before, but like the club owner at the first comedy club I started at, which was a bit of a shithole, and he was a lunatic. But the club owner, Bobby Jewell, back then, I had much shorter hair and a longer beard, and I wore contacts all the time, so I had glasses on. But that still doesn't make it excusable to me. But he used to call me Muhammad and make terrorist and Arab jokes about me all the time. Like I'd come in the room and he'd be like, la, 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 like making the terrorist noises and stuff like that. And the whole time I'd be like, Bobby, I'm fucking trailer trash from Clay. Like, listen to me talk. Like, what are you talking about? He's like, "Oh, shut the fucking terrorist," or whatever. He was like a drunken dipshit. But like, no idea where that ever came from. But so, I hear you. It happens.
All right. One last one, and this is a perfect one to go out on because we get a free plug in this. Subject line, "Your book and blowjobs." Howdy, fellow colonels. This is a long one. I've listened to every episode of the show while working, and I love it. I realized that I had a few credits on my Audible account, so I got your new book, and I'm loving it so far. I grew up just a little bit south of Lexington, Kentucky, in a small town called Berea, but now I live in Louisville. I love the Bloods and the Crips reference with the red versus blue, though I have no ties to either of them. Y'all ain't wrong. Your part on Portland was interesting to me. I've only been there once, but I feel like it was, in my experience, pretty goddamn accurate. I was on tour with a metal band and had a little bit of time off before the show and was fucking stoked that Chinatown was across the street from the venue. It turns out the whole place is a desolate wasteland filled with nothing but junkies. Walking back to the venue, I saw a random tarp next to a dumpster, thought nothing of it, and kept walking. All of a sudden, from beneath the tarp burst a junkie screaming at me, "Hey, do you want a $5 suck off?" I figured y'all would appreciate that anecdote. I tried and failed to make a limerick out of it. Sorry. There you go.
Did not say whether he accepted the offer or not.
No, I thought that was interesting.
Interesting. Yeah, it's an interesting choice. He didn't say, like,
protest too much.
Yeah, or not at all.
Right.
It's like, how you going to not tell us what you answered when the junkie asked if they could blow you for $5? You're like,
he's on tour with a metal band.
You're right. It's an interesting detail to leave out. I feel like he got back. He's like, "Hey, the roadie got sucked off by a junkie." You guys here? Like, yeah, they do that all the time.
Yeah, man. Oh, fuck. That's great. All right. Well, anyways, this has been a wonderful episode. Trey, where are you going to be this weekend?
Tonight I'm in Charleston, and tomorrow I'm in Durham, Raleigh-Durham, or Durham specifically. So come and see me. And I'm in Boston next weekend. Then I got San Francisco, Chicago, Phoenix, Northwest Arkansas, and Nashville all coming up in the near future. Go to TreyCrowder.com. And also while you're there, check out our book that the lovely Portland, or not what the metal person just plug.
Who may or may not have got his dick sucked in Portland.
By a junkie in Portland, yes. Just plug around here and over yonder. It's beloved by roadies who get sucked off by junkies everywhere. So if you're in that demographic, check it out. And yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, come see us. We'll be together at Zany's in Nashville, December 14th to the 16th. After that, if you're in the Asheville area, your boy on December 28th is going to be at the Gray Eagle. Other than that, thanks for grabbing the book, and go to bonuscorey.com if you want some shit from me. And as always, stay
fancy,
motherfuckers.
Here's Lydia Loveless.
1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Royalty and rednecks are alike. They both like cutting and picking fights. Biscuits and baked beans where they don't belong. Sit on down with Corey and Trey and learn some fancy shit today. We'll laugh a little even when they're wrong. They'll take you to a magical place where if you call someone a cunt, nobody cares. They keep it debonair at putting on airs, putting on airs, putting on airs, putting on airs.
NMLS number 65084, equal housing lender. Woo!
As an adult, don't we all miss spring break? Nothing like taking a week off from all your responsibilities. Well, here's the next best thing for adults, a spring break from house payments. SaveWithConrad.com can help you get rid of all your credit card debt, just like that. We're routinely helping our listeners save $500, $600, $700, even $800 a month. And you don't need perfect credit or money out of your pocket to do this, but check this out, no house payments for 2 months at SaveWithConrad.com.